getting my people to really understand the numbers
Mhm.
and getting them really good at seeing things, not so much of like, you're going to get more leads, you're going to get more customers, or, getting too much into the emotion stuff, which I do believe people emotionally buy. But if the logical brain can't make sense of it, it's always going to be something they may just regret either signing or not signing. But how can I get them to walk away going, dude, it just makes sense. It was the right thing. We have to do it. Like that feeling, I think, is so powerful. If you think of every time you've walked away from a sales pitch, walking from that, you're bought in, and everyone that wants to challenge your decision, you're reselling yourself by selling them.
Tim, today we have an absolute legend on the podcast. I've been talking about Mike Arce for a long time. And I feel like there's so many things I could tell you about. Like I've literally told you over the last year, I've said, "Oh, this guy, my friend, he started his agency, did it all outbound. He built this big thing. He has hundreds of clients. He also started an event, and he wrote a book, and he's dominating the gym space as an agency, which is really hard to do. He's also a dad and a coach, and all these things. And I've just been raving about this guy, and we finally got him. We finally got him on the show.
I'm looking so forward to this because since you and I met, you've been telling me about Mike, and I look so forward to the conversation today.
Yeah. Okay. So without further ado, we're going to introduce Mike, the CEO and founder of Loud Rumor. You also have probably seen him on YouTube for GSD, which stands for Get Shit Done, which is also great. And he has GSD Con, which is his big event that travels around the US. And we're just thrilled to have on the Agency Talk podcast, Mr. Mike Arce. Well, let's just start this podcast by saying I'm not in Hawaii right now on vacation. Someone on this podcast is. Today we're joined by my really good friend, Mike Arce, who has done a number of things. If I had to whip out his Wikipedia page, which you heard on the intro, you could see that this guy is a stud. But what we are bringing you on today, Mike, to talk about is one, for people who don't know you, who absolutely should follow you and start looking at a North Star personally, that I believe on the agency side and as an entrepreneur. But also we want to talk about how, and I want to come back to this later, and I've told Tim this, Mike has never once, I've never heard you complain about not having leads or getting leads. Like Tim, tell me how many times you've talked to agencies and like, they're like, the number one problem is that we just need more leads. And it's like, shouldn't that be your fucking job? Like that should be your thing, right? So Mike, welcome to the Agency Talk show. We are just so freaking pumped that you're here and spend a little time with us out there in Hawaii.
And thank you so much for joining us from your vacation. You've got that beautiful backdrop. Awesome.
Thanks for having me. This is my first morning here.
Is it really?
Yeah.
First morning in Hawaii on Agency
It's my
Talk.
first morning. We got in last night, and then we just walked the beach at night for a little bit, and then I was like, all right, I got to go to bed. I got to wake up early to do this thing. So my whole family's still sleeping.
Oh my God. Now I feel pressure. So for those listeners out there who do not know who Mike Arce is and absolutely will now be a fan of his work and start following you, Mike, take us back in the day, how it all started. Give us that kind of flow about who you are there.
Sounds good. So I really liked working. I always liked working. My father worked 18 hours a day growing up, watching him do it because he worked in the house. My mother worked, all day as well. She would take a train at like 5:36 in the morning, and then she'd get home at like 6:37 from the train to get back as well. So both my parents worked a lot. So for me, it wasn't like a strange foreign concept of just putting in a lot of hours. Like being done at 5 and just seeing the day after was just weird, But when I had to start working, I had 24 jobs before I was 22 years old. So there was a lot of movement, a lot of activity, but it wasn't like it just like I only kept jobs for like a month or two. I worked 3 jobs at one time for years. So that was also a very normal thing for me. And so if I picked up a job, I had to find a way to work in with my other 2 jobs, because I had to work it in with my school schedule. So it was hard. And then I switched majors like 3 times. How I got into the fitness world, which is for anybody listening, I have an agency that specifically focuses on gyms and fitness studios. I was a waiter while going to college for at the time, computers, Marcus. So back then they didn't have like a lot of categories. In 2000, there was computers
Yeah,
or
yeah.
graphic design, and that was it for any type of tech stuff. Outside of that, it was like something else.
Not to
You right.
benchmark Tim's age or anything, but Tim, do you remember before computers or the internet? Was that ever a thing?
Yeah, yeah, it was a thing. It was a thing. Yeah, without computers, without cell phones. Yeah. My daughter just got married this past weekend. We were up in the mountains. There was no cell coverage, and it felt like going back 30 years.
I'll tell you, I personally love it. I've gotten rid of Instagram, TikTok. I never had TikTok. Got rid of Instagram, got rid of TikTok. I'm on LinkedIn because it's a great recruiting platform. I'm on Facebook because it's a we have our Facebook group with all of our clients, but we're actually moving away from it for Slack, and we're on YouTube. So personally, like if I can have an hour or two tops of screen time through a day on my phone, that's a pretty good day.
Absolutely,
Amazing. Well,
absolutely.
you're better
So,
than me.
so you were on that journey of you working your ass off. Let's keep going there.
Yeah, so while I was doing that stuff, I was also in martial arts and I was traveling and I was competing throughout the country, and I actually got two-time Arizona state champ. The problem was that I was like 19 years old, and I don't know if you guys know this, but or if you had to deal with it, but around 19 to 20, that gap, boys become men in their body type. And I was very, very thin still. And so I wanted to learn how to beef up, gain muscle because my punches weren't making as much of an impact, and vice versa. When they hit me, I was like moving back quite a bit. And so I ended up looking into a personal trainer, too expensive. So in college, I saw they had a personal training program for a whole semester, so 18 credits. So I took that. I figured I'll just become a personal trainer and I'll know what to do and I'll train myself. And then I fell in love with it. I really like training people, so I quit the other jobs that I had and decided to apply for LA Fitness and started working there
Solid.
as a Yeah, I actually started working there as a person that sells training because I had to get their certification to qualify. And then from there became a trainer, broke records there, which was really cool for 20-year-old kid, 21-year-old kid. And then got promoted to GM. Then I became a garbage man, which basically meant they sent me to the underperforming clubs of the 16 in the state, and my job was to bring them to the top four. So I
Hmm.
I get moved to a bottom four, bring them to a top four, and that was just kind of a rotation. And then from there, just started a fitness company, or I didn't really do much with it, so don't get excited. No story there. Ended up finding out I was becoming a dad. Left the fitness world to focus on a 9 to 5 because I really wanted to be a good dad, like I had a good dad. And down the road, started a marketing company called Loud Rumor, and we were niche. I'm sorry, we were not niche at the time. We did everything for everybody. Read a good book called Built to Sell and talked to a couple coaches and mentors who, basically told me, yeah, you're looking, you got it. It's a good book if you got it. Yeah, it's a
Built to
good book,
sell.
man. I had the
Got it.
audio one. Yep.
Yep.
I had the audio because I still remember driving and listening to these things. And I'm like, God, it makes so much sense. And between that and a couple mentors, Billie Jean being one of them, actually, I
Yep.
had people tell me, hey, there's a lot of value in niching. And so we had failed on niching the first time. We niched to dentists and
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
sucked. Now, keep in mind, the industry of dentistry didn't suck. I have a friend called Anissa who crushes it with dentists. I just hate the dentist, my one phobia. I actually choose the dent. I have one phobia. I choose the dentist based on who will put me to sleep for a cleaning. And I get a cleaning every 3 months just so that there's nothing to do. It's like my mom's old adage of like, if you keep your room clean every day, then you'll never have to have a big mess, right? So it was like that idea. And so anyway, got out of dentistry because it didn't really work. Then I picked fitness because, and actually it was Billie Jean. He's like, what would you do if he's like, if you could go back to another industry, what would it be? And I said, fitness. I love fitness. He's like, great, do that. And then from there, we went from 42 clients, which is what we were kind of capped at for like years, to
Mhm.
400 plus clients in like 18 months or something like that. So, and from
Gross.
there, we just continue to do everything we could to, own the industry.
400 clients.
Yeah.
Did shit break? Did shit break? I mean, it had to have broken at some point a little
Yeah.
bit, maybe.
You know what's funny? Shit broke later, not during all that. And I think it was because at the time, if you remember, this is 2016, 17, 18, cost per lead on Facebook was like $1 for these businesses. So so they weren't complaining much even when shit like if you got really good value at some
Yeah.
place, like let's say you go to a hotel and it's just amazing and everything's just amazing, everything's going great. If they accidentally take a little long to bring you your breakfast, you're not like blowing up, right? It's like, all right, like so overall, we had done such a good job in so many areas that we were able to make mistakes. Where it started to break down was once lead costs started rising towards $10, $12, $18, and now all of a sudden people needed more than 400 leads, or they needed to do better, have a higher closing rate because 400 leads was getting them maybe 30 clients. Now they were only getting 150 leads, right? So we from
Mm.
there had to learn how do we have to make a decision here. Decision is either A, which is what my at the time a director of operations wanted me to do. Let's only work with people that are really good business owners. Let's stop working with anybody. Let's work with people that are really good business owners because those are the ones. And he was right. Statistically, they were converting really well and they were never complaining about leads. And then over here, my option was, well, why don't we just convert as many people as we can to be these people? And so we
Mm.
started a podcast, we started a conference, we created like booklets, we created a learning platform. Um, we actually created a couple podcasts. There was a bunch of stuff that we had done. And although we weren't able to convert everybody to become a good business owner, we have we have a collection. Like I'm talking like hundreds of case studies of people saying that they learned more in 1 month through us than they did in 4 years of college. And they're like went
Wow.
from 15K, 20K a month in revenue to like 80K, 90K a month in revenue. So
Mm.
I think that was a big thing we had to overcome, and I think we've done it decently well.
When you went from 40 regular
Mhm.
clients, that was your ceiling. And I'm sure you were outstanding, with those clients. When you go 10x that, the
Mhm.
opportunity for things to break down are just massive. So, what were the biggest challenges in 10xing your business from 40 to 400?
Leadership, you have to become a different type of leader because you're so close to the ground when you have like 6 employees.
Right.
And
Mm.
you don't have you're one of the boys. When you're one of six, you're one of the boys. It's fine. You're like a player coach. Once you have like 12 employees, now you kind of need a middle manager, and you can't step over that person's toes. You have to develop them, and otherwise there's no point in even having them. Then they're just kind of like
Right.
a prop, right? So, and that's really hard to step back when you know everyone he's managing, you know their tendencies, you know their life, you know all that stuff. So stepping back's hard because it's not only hard because you know it's the right thing to do to develop your manager, but also because your people feel like you're abandoning them. Like, why aren't you, as involved
Mhm.
anymore with us? So that was kind of awkward. And then you eventually need, once you get to 2025, you need another layer of management in a department or two, because you could only manage about 5 to 6 people per team. So once you have five, let's say 6 account managers, great, you have a manager. Once you have 12 account managers, you have 2 managers, and someone needs to lead these people. And it's not going to be me. So now you have to have another layer. So I would say it's just creating a lot of new positions
Mhm.
that didn't exist.
Building that initial infrastructure so that you can scale vertically and not spread yourself out and thin is so important. But all of us have built the plane while we're in the air.
Yeah, I mean, when I look back, there's a lot of employees that we lost, whether because we let go of or they quit, that we probably could have gotten a lot of value out of hanging on to, but we just mismanaged. There's
Mm.
probably a lot of clients that we had lost, probably a lot of vendors that we had lost. Obviously, you go back in time to anything personal or business, you can think of things you're like, man, I own that. That probably could have gone better if I'd have done that differently, but I didn't know it. I wasn't that guy at the time, and even right now, I'm not who I'm going to be in 10 years. So I'm fucking things up now in 10 years that I'm going to wish I'd done differently. But right now, yeah, there's a good portion of 10-year mistakes I wish I could flip.
It's interesting you said that because one, you very much own it. I know that about you. It's why I love you. It's why you're a brother. Like I love that you own things and say, yeah, this is what it is. Tim, he's gonna speak our love language hard right now. Okay. You're gonna be sitting there nodding and doing your thing. Let's talk about sales. Let's talk about that part, that aspect of this agency world that we don't really talk about. Like, I know you have sales teams. I know you've built that part of your business. I know you're a badass salesperson. I know at the very beginning of your business, you're sitting in a whole hallway cold calling and doing everything, and your wife trying to build this thing. But I want to know what kind of engine you built.
Well, I think 10% is kind of the number that I've been using, where 10% of your revenue should be put towards a sales team, and then about 13% towards marketing and ad spend. So now for some people, that may be 3% for their people and 10% for their ad spend. For us, we flip it. A lot of our business is organic. So we put about 10% of our revenue is for our marketing people. And then we only use about 4% or so of revenue for ad spend. But we get a lot of organic business from YouTube. We get a lot of organic business from referrals. We do a lot of referrals, a lot of outreach. So that helps a lot. Marcus, you know this. Like, I don't care
Mhm.
who you are, you got to build rapport in the beginning of that sales presentation. You got to build rapport. And how you build rapport is different. Some people build rapport by talking about the weather and whatever. I like building rapport quickly around, hey, why are we here? Like, let's talk about why you're here and what are we looking
Mhm.
to do in this hour. Like, at the end of this hour, if you were to walk out of here going, that was the best damn meeting I've ever had in marketing for my business, what would have had to happen in this meeting? And they tell you literally what they want to happen. Like, that's
That's
to
a
me
really
the
good question.
I start every meeting with that. Every meeting. Hey Tim, obviously we're here for a reason. So tell me, if at the end of this meeting you walk out of here and you look over your person that you're here with, you say, dude, that was the best use of my time I could have ever had. I'm excited to move forward with these guys. What happened in this meeting that got you there? And they literally
Mm.
tell you, they're like, we want to find somebody that does X, Y, Z, and you're like, great, that's the only thing we're going to talk about. Fair enough. Yes, great. We dive in. But
Hmm.
but I was like, damn, wouldn't it be great if I can save 10 minutes to 15 minutes a meeting and just have rapport before they even meet me. Like, before I even know them, they're like trusting, they like me, they're confident, whatever. So that's when we started the podcast, when we started creating a lot of content. And so that happened, right? Like, my salespeople get on the phone, they're like, hey, so how'd you hear about Loud Rumor? Oh man, I've been following you guys for years. You guys already helped me with this. You already helped me with that. I started doing this and it worked really well. So the trust is built,
Hmm.
credibility is built. At this point, it's like, cool, why are we here? And then we go into that question of what would have to happen at the end of this meeting.
I've always thought that sales it really comes down to two things, and that's trust and credibility. And I think when you can put that credibility out there, that's like that's your pedigree, that's your resume. Trust is built with every interaction, and trust is built over time. But you have to have that as your North Star. So I think all those little touch points create trust along the way. And so it seems like, boy, you've built that exact thing. One quick question is, when did you make the decision that you weren't going to be the exclusive face of your brand? And when you did, begin to farm that out to your team, did that have any impact on, well, this is great, but I want to work with Mike?
I was studying in the very like 2015, 2016. That's when I really started like getting into coaching. Like, I was getting coaches all the time. And so I started studying people. I'm not going to say their name here because at the end there's going to be a little flip. But I started studying coaches that were giving me really good advice that was working, and it was working for them, and it was started working for me. um, and a lot of the advice was just create a lot of content, get out there, essentially get famous. That was like the idea. And I never really had interest in that. I needed to grow my company. If that's what you tell me I need to do and you're doing it, then it must work, right? And so I started doing it all. And then around that time, like maybe like 2 years in, 3 years in, it started to get into the point where now people were recognizing me. It wasn't a heavy amount. I wasn't walking around where like I was getting stopped every 5 seconds, but it would be like I go to a conference like Traffic and Conversion, for example, and I'd get stopped like a dozen
Yeah.
times or so, and people would say, "Hey, I follow this, follow that," which was not too bad. But I never knew how to comfortably handle the situation, especially in front of my wife or anybody. Like, I didn't know how to handle it because I knew I wasn't famous, but to this guy, he's acting like I am. But then where really affected me, I started really reading into people like Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, and Buffett doesn't have an Instagram, and these that's not how he runs, right? He's not out there, and he's not posting his own videos like other people are posting his stuff, right? If it's good enough, other people will create it for you. That was the way I looked at it at the time. But I was so into it, and then I was coaching my daughter in t-ball, And I've coached 35 seasons of sports now between all my kids, football, basketball, baseball, all that, soccer for sure. And I'm coaching her in t-ball. She's 5. At the time, she might have been 4. And we're actually here for her 6th birthday, by the way. So anyway, I'm coaching t-ball, and all of a sudden I hear Mike, and I look over and I don't see anybody I recognize, and then I hear him go GSD, and it's this guy on a bike, and I'm just on a bicycle, just hanging out like an adult, watching kids play t-ball, and I'm just like, oh man. And I'm like, I don't know this guy. And then he's like, dude, you have a few minutes after practice to talk? And I'm like, maybe. And I just kept. Now I got the parents who don't know who I am, because parents don't know that I have a
Yeah,
YouTube
yeah.
channel, or they don't know, nor do I want them to, right? I use a personal email. Like, it's totally different.
Right.
And now after the game, this guy's talking to me. It's getting dark. My daughter's like, Daddy, I'm hungry. I want to go. It's 7 o'clock for her. She's ready to go to bed in a half hour. And he keeps talking, and she's asking, and I'm like, dude, my daughter's, I gotta take her. And he's like, oh, I'll walk you to the car. And I'm like, okay. So now walking my car, and I was like, that was super uncomfortable, right? Like, it
Mhm.
lasted 30 minutes, and I couldn't walk away from it because I didn't know if this guy was going to get aggressive. Probably wasn't, but like, I got my 5-year-old, 4-year-old daughter, so I'm like, anyway. Then it happened a week later at the grocery store. And then
Wow.
that was enough. I was with my kids again, and somebody
Yeah.
knew me, and they just talked to me in the grocery store for like 10, 15 minutes. Again, nothing wrong with it, but I'm with my family. I don't get a lot of that time. I'm here with them. Now I got to talk about work. So at that time, I was like, look, there's people that I know through programs like EO that are making really, really good money, helping a lot of people run great companies, great places to work, and no one knows their name. And if I had to pick, would I rather be the guy that walks into a room that's got like 2 people with cameras recording them and everyone's coming up to them? Would I rather be that guy, or the guy that he walked by and everybody else walked by as he's sitting there eating a sandwich and no one knows that he's crushing in life? That I'd rather be that guy. So
Mm.
that's when I started going, I want to be the guy that can walk right by everyone
Yeah.
and no one knows that's that guy.
I've also had fake celebrity moments, Mike, and I feel that pain a lot. And I think it's kind of interesting how you can actually switch that. I think in the beginning of people's businesses, like having a face associated with is great. And to Tim's point, I think that one of the things that keeps up coming up as a recurring, maybe this is the very last point in our conversation because we've obviously had you for a long time, is that idea that like you're the person that everybody wants to deal with. Like, how do you
Hmm.
get and when you're what you're saying is you
Yeah.
diversify that in the many faces of your organization. Is that kind of how that
Hmm.
you kind of inoculate against that?
So one things that I'm doing my best to do really, really good at is really talk to my people in logical terms, because I
Mm,
feel like, I feel like people generally like making logical decisions. They like when they, man, how good does it feel when you make a decision, and once you make it, you look over at the person, you go, I mean, it just makes sense. Like that. How good does that feel to be able to say it? Like, where you just know logically you made a great decision, right? So how
mhm.
can we get more of our clients to, once they hang up the phone with us with a contract done, they go, I mean, it just makes sense, like, right? So that was the thing. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to start talking to my people, not just my salespeople, but all of my people. Um, Internally, we have our own channels in Slack and stuff, and we do this stuff. We talk about like what certain things actually mean dollar wise. And so, for example, we had somebody had posted yesterday in the Slack channel. I'll give you an example of how it happened, and apparently, like, everyone started getting really excited about it. They said they're going to be creating like content around it, which is what made me think about it. But we have an Amazing Stories channel, and an Amazing Stories channel, every day people are posting like 2 to 4 things that are happening with our clients that people are really excited about. And it could be anybody, it could be prospect salespeople, it could be account managers, campaign managers. Well, somebody posted that this one client got an increase in MRR of $3,500 in just 2 months by simply having a better sales process, blah, blah, blah. Talks about how it feels, how he's excited, all that stuff. And then I replied back, okay, you guys ready for some more numbers? This means that they're adding about 1750 per month on average in MRR. Over the course of 12 months, they would have added 21K in MRR. If you add up the increased revenue they've made over the course of the year, 1750 in month one, 3500 in month two, 5250 in month three, etc., they would have earned $136,000 from our program. Keep in mind, this is considering they don't get any better at what they do, they just stay the same. If they spend 30 grand over the course of the year to add this, they have a 400% increase in ROI. By year 2, that compounds, and our fee does not. The ROI gets crazy by year 2 and 3 and so on. So when someone asks me what it costs to work at Loud Rumor, I respond not nearly as much as it costs to not work with us. Excellent work, team. Love hearing wins like this. And then from there, you got comments of people like going, damn, I never saw the numbers broken down like this. That's awesome. That's great. And so I want people to get on the call. And we had one prospect, and it was really cool to hear the salesperson say, like, what are we looking to accomplish here? The guy's like, I want to increase revenue by 250 grand this year. Great. And then, he gets to the price and it's like 30 grand or something. And he goes, yeah, I can't do this. Well, why not? It's a $30,000 deal. Well, I'm sorry. I don't know if I have I had meetings all day today. I don't know if I have my meetings mixed up, but I thought this was a $250,000 deal. I didn't know we were talking about a $30,000 deal. And he's like, no, I thought you said 250. I thought you said the price was 30. And he goes, well, yeah, like that's what we charge to get you to 250, but I'm not going to be on the call for this long to talk about a $30,000 deal. That's not exciting. What was exciting is when you told me you wanted to talk about a $250,000 deal. And I was like, man, it's worth me spending on the phone because I'm only going to charge this guy 30 grand to get there. So does 30 grand make sense for an exchange of 250, which by the way, the next year I'm only going to charge you 30 again, but you're already going to have 250. We're adding another 250, maybe more because you're so smart by then. You know what to do. So am I crazy, or does that math make sense to me? Right. And now you got the person understanding that, like the concept. So getting my people to really understand the numbers and getting them really good at seeing things, not so much of like you're going to get more leads, you're going to get more customers, or getting too much into the emotion stuff, which I do believe people emotionally buy. But if the logical brain can't make sense of it, it's always going to be something they may just regret either signing or not signing. But how can I get them to walk away going, dude, it just makes sense. It was the right thing. We have to do it. Like that feeling, I think, is so powerful. If you think of every time you've walked away from a sales pitch, walking from that, you're bought in, and everyone that wants to challenge your decision, you're reselling yourself by selling them, by going, dude, what are you talking about? If you just do this, this, this. So I think aiming for a goal for them to walk out of there going, it just makes sense, not it feels right. I think that is the goal for our salespeople.
Love it. Well, Mike, you've given us enough of your time, and you're in Hawaii for your daughter's birthday, and you're the man, and I love you. So I don't know how to say that any other way. And we're always thrilled to have you. I know this is such a favor. So, brother, thank you so much for coming on Agency Talk and gracing us with your presence. Appreciate you.
You got it, man. I'm sorry if my voice, I was super quiet. I just didn't want to wake up the house. Normally, I'll be a little louder for you guys.
Loud rumor. No, I'm just kidding. No problem.
Mike,
thanks a lot, brother.
Everything about this just made sense. Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I hope everybody that listened in loved it, and make sure that you go over to agency-talk.com and check out his speaker Agency Talker page, which will have all of his information, how you can connect with him, follow him, check out GSD, check out Loud Rumor, and all of that great content that he puts out there on YouTube. All of that'll be in the section. And also join the conversation. Reach out to us, subscribe. Tim and I are readily available on the LinkedIn's. That's a platform on the internets, in the computer. And so if you want to connect with us, please do so.
On that
the
computer?
the internet on the computer. And then they can talk to us on the computers. So anyway, Tim, an absolute pleasure. And for everybody who did not see this visually and you're listening, Tim has a scrumptious sweater on today. And it would be an absolute tragedy if you didn't go and just go to agency-talk.com, check out this video to make sure you see this beautiful, beautiful sweater. Tim, you're amazing. Until next time, peace out, Agency Talk.